ここで何があった？何もなかった。
Upon the waves of the vast ocean, in a world of mystery and legend, stands a man with a piercing gaze that reaches deep into a soul flooded with dreams. His name is Roronoa Zoro, a swordsman who dances with his weapon between dreams and freedom. Someone with strong determination, someone who never gives up. From him, we will learn the meaning of loyalty. This video discusses Zoro not because he strayed to this channel, but because a lot of people asked for it. So let's take a deep dive into this character and try to learn a thing or two from him. Roronoa Zoro, also known as the Pirate Hunter, is the main member of the Straw Hat Pirate Group, one of the seniors of the large fleet, and is publicly recognized as the right-hand man of his crew captain, Monkey D. Luffy. And in his recent live-action story, he was officially recognized as the Vice Captain. Zoro, as a member of the Straw Hat crew, exudes courage and strength. He has a very interesting origin of his name. His surname Roronoa was actually inspired by a real pirate in the past. That pirate was Francois Lolon, who was known as one of the most ruthless pirates in the Caribbean in his day. Lolon itself is pronounced Roronoa in Japanese. Zoro was born on East Blue, son of Terra and Roronoa Arashi, grandson of Shimotsuki Furiko and Roronoa Pinzoro, and grandson of Shimotsuki Ushimaru, which makes him a descendant of the Shimotsuki family from the country of Wano and the legendary samurai Shimotsuki Ryuma. When Zoro was still a child, he was a talented student at Kuina's father Kuoshiro's kendo school. Even at a young age, Zoro had shown great skill in the sword arts. Using 2 swords, he was even able to defeat adult opponents. But there was one glaring exception. The strong and determined Zoro could not defeat Kuina. They fought repeatedly, and Zoro always lost. They even fought 2,000 times, and it didn't lessen Zoro's determination at all, until Zoro finally got Kuina to fight with a real sword, and the result was the same. He lost again. This is the first time we see Zoro cry. This is where we see how his defeat in battle can bring him down emotionally. Here, Kuina tries to give words to make Zoro feel better. She says that eventually, women will become weak as they grow up, and in the end, she will be defeated by Zoro. However, Zoro rejects such thoughts and promises to always fight with Kuina, and this is where we are shown that they both vow to become the strongest swordsman. However, fate had other plans. The next morning, Kuina tragically dies after falling down the stairs of her house. Zoro felt angry and felt as though Kuina had broken the promise. He cried and asked for Kuina's sword, the Wado Ichimonji, which is one of the 21 most powerful swords in the world, which he later wore in his mouth. With that sword, Zoro promises to continue Kuina's unfulfilled dreams. This is the beginning of his long journey towards his dream of becoming the strongest swordsman, and at the same time, faithfully honoring Kuina's memory. This moment is one that shapes Zoro's character in one piece, and the beginning of the strong determination and commitment that he carries with him throughout his adventures with Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hat crew. As a master of the 3-sword stance, a style of swordsmanship he created during his childhood training in the village of Shimonoseki, Zoro is one of the 3 most powerful fighters in the Straw Hat, alongside Luffy and Sanji, who are referred to as the Monster Trio. Aside from being a part of the Straw Hat crew, and as a former bounty hunter, his sizable bounty price upon arriving at the Sabaudi archipelago caused Zoro along with Luffy to be among the 11 supernovas. That is, 11 rookie pirates with a ransom value of more than 100 million berries who have reached the red line. Where his own was worth 120 million berries, he and the other 10 supernovas were then referred to as the worst generation. Zoro is without a doubt a warrior, someone who works hard and never gives up. He never gave up dueling 2001 times even though he never won. Whether this attitude reflects tenacity and fortitude, or just plain stubbornness, or perhaps a combination of the two, Zoro has dreams and ambitions. Zoro has big dreams and ambitions to become the best swordsman in the world and will cut down anyone who dares to stand in his way. As Zoro himself said to Luffy at the beginning of their meeting,
俺が野望を断念するような羽目になったら、その時は腹を切って俺に詫びろ。
However, when Luffy was in a helpless state, when Luffy was about to be captured and possibly killed by the Shichibukai, Bartholomew Kuma, in this moment, Zoro is willing to give up his life and accept great pain, and most importantly, he is willing to give up his dream of becoming the best sword recorder. This is where we see how much respect and trust he has for Luffy. He gave up his dream, something that has brought him forward in life so far, for the sake of the captain. Zoro would probably do anything to help pave the way for Luffy to achieve his goal. He would fight until all his bones were broken, until his blood ran out. He could give up his dreams and even his own life as long as it would help Luffy achieve his goal. To make someone with a high ego and self-esteem like Zoro bow his head, it takes something very big, a reason enough to throw away the pride he had, something that even exceeds his own life and dreams. Zoro once said,
剣士として最強を目指すと決めた時から命なんてとうに捨ててる。
This is where we start to see more of Zoro's character. His loyalty is higher than anything else. In his eyes, loyalty is higher than his own dreams. And when it comes down to it, his dream of becoming the best swordsman in the world isn't just for the sake of it. He had that dream not for himself, but it was a form of loyalty towards Quina, someone he respected. He was constantly trying to achieve that for Quina, not for himself. So, it made perfect sense that he put his captaincy above himself, above his own dreams. Because to him, loyalty is everything. One scene that illustrates this, right when the Straw Hat crew regains consciousness, is when Sanji finds Zoro standing upright and covered in blood. When Sanji asked Zoro what had happened, Zoro said that nothing had happened. At this moment, Zoro somehow looks really cool. It's this kind of attitude that usually invites admiration and respect. Zoro did all that just to protect Luffy and his dream. He probably knows that the loss or pain of not being able to fulfill your own dreams is very painful, so he does not want and will not let Luffy feel that kind of pain. This trait, as explained earlier, emphasizes that Zoro is truly sincere in helping Luffy. He does not tell anyone what happened to him. He didn't expect praise or pity. He was truly sincere. Sanji himself said that Zoro didn't make the sacrifice for praise. Again, it's traits like this that earn respect. And something like this, a moment where Zoro bowed his head, throwing away his pride, didn't happen once. After being separated from his crewmates, here he even makes a desperate plea to Mihawk, who is in fact his main enemy, the man who defeated him and almost killed him years ago. Zoro bows to him, putting his pride aside because he has to become stronger for Luffy. Again, this could happen because of Luffy. Although Zoro argues that he has to be trained to defeat Mihawk, both we and Mihawk know that when someone like Zoro wants to humble himself, it must be about other people. Mihawk is of the opinion that Zoro has found something beyond his own ambition, and there is one more moment that certainly cannot be forgotten by all One Piece lovers. That is when Zoro refused Luffy to bring Usopp back into the Straw Hat crew. After a series of unfortunate events, the Straw Hats had to say goodbye to their first ship, Going Merry. Usopp was upset with Luffy because he felt he had abandoned the ship he loved so much. In anger, Usopp challenged Luffy to a duel and lost. Usopp then said that he was leaving the group that had given him color in his life. When the rest of the crew wanted to pick Usopp up and give him a chance to return without apology, Zoro stood up as a firm voice of authority. With characteristic firmness, he decided to take a strong stance and spoke in a resounding tone. Zoro, who has always been known as a holder of strict principles and discipline, views their captain, Luffy, as a leader who must be respected. In that moment, he was straightforward and firm. He instructed Luffy to stand his ground. The reason is clear: a crew must have clear authority and hierarchy, even in difficult matters. Then, with a firm demeanor, Zoro confronted the comrades who wanted to give Usopp a second chance. With sharp and resounding words, he delivered his message that Luffy was their captain, and as captain, he should be respected. There was no place for disrespect in the crew, and Zoro did not want to be part of a crew where the captain tolerated blatant disrespect from his crew members. There was one moment where Zoro would even save the enemy if it was ordered by Luffy, like when he saved the drowning smoker. Here, Zoro basically didn't want to save an enemy, but when the order came from the captain, Luffy, he firmly obeyed it. However, aside from obedience, there is something quite interesting here. Could it be that Zoro actually still has a sense of worry or care for Smoker that he doesn't even realize? Because basically, Zoro is a good person. Zoro, with his attitude that often seems stern and ignorant, has a deep side of kindness that is undeniable. There are moments that illustrate that behind his rough appearance, his heart is full of genuine kindness. He is always willing to protect the innocent, like when he saved Rika from the mischievous and stupid Helmeppo, even when he has to accept the consequences of his actions, such as being arrested for not wanting innocent people to be executed just because of him. The moment where Zoro is willing to eat the onigiri that Helmeppo has trampled on is a perfect illustration of his sincere nature. Even though the onigiri was not tasty, Zoro still accepted it kindly because he did not want to hurt Rika's feelings. Zoro could not refuse the kindness given by others. This is proof that within Zoro, there is a kind and caring heart towards others, even if he often seems harsh. There is another important principle Zoro holds dear that makes him very loyal: promises. Zoro has a strong principle of always fulfilling the promises he makes, especially to his friends and the Straw Hat crew. This is one of the fundamental aspects of his character. Zoro believes that keeping a promise is a sign of honor and courage. Zoro understands that a promise is something that must be honored. For him, keeping a promise is a sign of honor and courage. When he gives his word, it is a commitment that must be kept without hesitation. That was how he saw the meaning of a promise. He had made various promises during their adventures, such as the promise to protect his friends, achieve their shared dreams, and reach his goal as the strongest swordsman. This principle reflects Zoro's commitment and loyalty to the important people in his life. In other words, if there is one key principle that can be used to describe the values that Zoro espouses, it is that of promise or commitment. His ability to fulfill the promises he makes, even in the most difficult situations, reflects his mental toughness. Zoro is the type of person who will not be swayed by pressure or adversity. Endurance is a strong characteristic of Zoro. He often suffered serious injuries in battle, but he always survives and bounces back with greater vigor. Zoro has a very clear goal in life, which is to become the strongest swordsman. This goal gave him a stable focus and direction. This phrase shows how serious he is in pursuing his dream. No messing around, no turning back. When words come out of his mouth, then he will try his hardest to make it all happen. He is a living example for his friends, especially for Brook, Chopper, and Usopp, who both respect him very much. There is one thing we need to know more about Zoro. Zoro is someone who has high honor, where even the first time he fought Drackle Mihawk, when he suffered a crushing defeat, Zoro did not let his back get hurt. According to him, a wound on the back is shameful for a swordsman. In this incident, even Mihawk himself recognized the extraordinary attitude shown by Zoro. In the 65th episode at the beginning of their meeting, when Zoro fought Vivi, at that time, Vivi called Zoro Mr. Bushido. Although Zoro already has several nicknames, Mr. Bushido has enough meaning and symbolism to describe the character of Roronoa Zoro. Bushido itself is a term that refers to the way of the warrior in Japanese culture, which is a set of moral codes and values that govern the behavior and ethics of a samurai. This code includes principles such as courage, honesty, loyalty, respect, and discipline that were followed by the samurai. Although Zoro is not a samurai, there is a good reason why Vivi calls him Mr. Bushido. This is actually a tribute that refers to Zoro's resemblance to the principles of Bushido, both in his attitude as a warrior and in his skillful use of the katana. Zoro's strong demeanor, unwavering determination in battle, his loyalty to the Straw Hat crew, and his strict code of ethics in practicing the sword arts are traits that make him similar to a samurai. Although Zoro is not a samurai in the context of Japanese history, he symbolically reflects the values of Bushido through his strong moral principles and bravery in battle. Thus, the title Mr. Bushido given by Vivi is a suitable way to recognize the similarity of Zoro's values and attitudes to the Bushido Code, even, if not literally, as a samurai. Then the question is Zoro so loyal to Luffy and the Straw Hat crew solely because he practices this Bushido principle? Zoro's loyalty is not just because he is a reflection of a samurai or someone who follows his principles. Rather, it is because of the values shared by the Straw Hat crew and the relationships they built during their journey together. Both Zoro and Luffy have a strong code of ethics. Zoro respects Luffy's determination to achieve his dream of becoming the Pirate King, and she sees him as a leader who fulfills his promises and stands by his principles. This creates a strong bond between the two of them. In addition, Zoro and the Straw Hat crew grow together during their adventures. They overcame various obstacles and dangers together, which strengthened their bond. Zoro had witnessed Luffy's ability and determination during their fights, and this made him even more trusting and loyal to Luffy. Although Zoro's initial goal was to become the strongest swordsman, he also shared a dream with the crew to obtain One Piece and pursue his own dreams in the pirate world. This shared desire to achieve their goals was one of the factors that maintained Zoro's loyalty towards Luffy and the rest of the crew. So, while the path of Bushido may have influenced Zoro's character in terms of integrity and morals, his loyalty towards Luffy and the Straw Hat crew is mainly based on emotional bonds, common values, and shared experiences during their adventures. Again, in Zoro's eyes, loyalty is everything. Also, one thing that is sometimes associated with Zoro is stoicism. Zoro is a person who embodies the principles of Stoic philosophy through his journey. Zoro is a person who is rarely affected by negative emotions such as anger or fear. Especially in fierce battles, he is able to maintain his composure under pressure, which reflects self-control. One of the important aspects in Stoic philosophy is also the background of his every action for himself. It is simply because he wants to. He never expected praise or validation from outsiders. When he was laughed at for his three-sword style that others thought was strange. When he always lost against Quina, he ignored the words of others who belittled him. When she sacrificed herself for Luffy and his friends, she didn't say anything. He didn't expect anything. He did it all just because he wanted to. Zoro didn't care how others would react. He didn't care if he would be labeled evil by others or even the world government. Zoro understands that one can only rely on their own reactions and actions to the external environment, which can never be controlled. Zoro is a figure who inspires many in his courage, determination, and strong principles. On his journey to achieve his dream of becoming the strongest swordsman, he not only became a hero to the Straw Hat crew, but also a symbol of how determination and commitment can change one's fate in this unpredictable world. Zoro is different from Luffy, who is the offspring of a naval hero and revolutionary. He is also different from Sanji, who is a royal prince, and even from Usopp, who has an extraordinary father. Roronoa Zoro was just an ordinary person, although he had the blood of Shimosuke Ryuma, who was the greatest samurai. But that was far enough away. At least not as close as his three colleagues, Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp. So it was no wonder that he fought harder than the others. He was the only one in the Straw Hat crew who was shown to be training frequently while on the ship. Zoro knows that for an ordinary person like him, in order to achieve his goals, he must try harder than anyone else. He knows his shortcomings and has the courage to correct them. He never gave up, unlike most people who would immediately retreat when faced with thick and high walls. And he does all this on the basis of promise, on the basis of loyalty. The one thing that makes him so cool, Zoro sees loyalty as everything. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit that like button and smash the subscribe for more. Remember, the fun doesn't stop here. Check out our other videos for more exciting content. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring. See you in the next video. Thank you.